Hello everyone, and welcome back to Geekvolution After Dark. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And look, it's Dan!
Hi, I'm Dan.
Hey, Dan's here after dark, and we're boozing it up with Jack Daniels and Coke mixed together because we're that lazy.
I have Jim Beam and a Star Tumbler. Because I wanted to use my Star Tumbler.
Alright, Dan, what are we talking about today?
I want to talk a little bit about music because that's something I like to listen to. It's awesome.
I like to
history and theory.
I like listening to things that aren't music, but also music.
Yeah, I'm a big music fan. Not like necessarily like you said, like the theory or anything. I can't write music. I can't play anything. I'm terrible at it. But I like listening to music a lot. And I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about like the quality of today's popular music, like what gets played on the radio, what gets played like when you're out, like. I don't know, at a bar or something, like what gets played, people, what most people listen to of our generation, I guess, because we're around the same age.
Sure.
And I feel like the quality of the artistry and stuff, like what musicians are talking about, is much lower compared to what it has been in like past decades. Like even in like the 80s and 90s, like when there's cheesy mainstream music, like a lot of the hip hop stuff that was coming out in the 80s was like cutting edge and talking about some real important things. That's not really my forte. I like a lot of 60s rock music, and I feel like that's when rock was the most artistic and talking about socially relevant issues and stuff.
Well, yeah, because in the 90s you had like Britney Spears, but you also had like 9 Inch Nails and Nirvana.
Yeah, exactly.
And there was more variety, if nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I feel like what's coming out today is just largely kind of garbage.
So you see, you're talking about that meme that keeps showing up on Facebook where it's like look at this love song from the 70s, and it's like a Led Zeppelin song or something. It's like these really beautifully articulated words, and it's like, look at this love song from today, and it's like
exactly, yeah. I mean, maybe there's a place for that. It's not my thing. Maybe that's what some people, that's what their life is. But I don't know.
How is that a love song?
I don't know, it just bothers me. And I've had kind of a theory about this, and I kind of wanted to run it by you guys and see what you think about it. So, like...
Yes, it's because the public education system has failed.
Not necessarily
and the parents.
That is, and the parents.
This is more specific to the music industry. I think that the reason...
But that's the reason.
The reason music has went so downhill is because the record industry sort of collapsed with the internet.
Yeah.
Because everyone has to be more of a performer than an actual recording artist in order to exist, because that's how they make all their money, is from selling tickets to events rather than on the merit of what their music actually is. I think that might be what it is. Like
you can't sell records, you can't sell individual songs.
Yeah.
We're just not buying music anymore. I'm not buying music anymore. I want to pay for a subscription for Spotify and have access to everything there is.
Like
that's what I want.
I just think about some of the artists I love. Like I'm a big 60s guy. Like Bob Dylan is my favorite musician of all time, and like he would not be mainstream popular today in the way that he was in the 60s.
No, at work we listen to music on the phone, and
I actually have a rebuttal for that. But
yeah?
go ahead, Eric.
Sure.
And one employee in particular I can't stand when they play music.
Yeah.
Like it is painful for me when it's real modern, just like there are points where I'm like, is the music skipping? Like, are we losing internet, or is that just what it sounds like?
Yeah.
And like it's a lot of like modern pop stuff, and like I don't like it. But like when I put on like 70s music, they're like it's boring. Like Zeppelin, Judas Priest.
Oh, I love Zeppelin.
Like
people, they don't like things that are melodic. They don't like actual music. They don't want it to have a through line. They don't want it to be musical.
Yeah, and when I say like music in general, I'm sure there's like underground stuff and like stuff that's like less popular that people is really artistic and is really good that I'm not privy to.
There is a lot of people think that there is a clear degeneration of the quality of music and music getting simpler and simpler to the point where it's not music anymore. A lot of people think that in 20 years it's just going to be like hitting some sticks together and some people in the background going and
it's already kind of like that. They pay a guy named Lil Jon to just yell in the background of songs like yeah and stuff like that. It's so ridiculous.
And it's it will be like avant-garde if you get an English word in any of these songs. But the thing is, and you also hear people complain. I just want to have some perspective with this.
Sure.
You also have people complain about people complaining about this, saying, well, every generation feels this way about the previous generation.
Yeah, it's just noise. That's not music.
The
That's
next
just
generation.
noise.
Yeah, and that when you become an adult, invariably you're going to end up with a bunch of new music that you don't understand that has passed your time. My argument against that is that in the 90s, my dad loved all the music I was listening to.
Mm-hmm.
He was my age.
Yeah.
He was in his 30s, and he liked a lot of the alternative and mainstream stuff that I was listening to. You know, he liked songs like stuff R.E.M. was doing, and things like Sex and Candy and stuff like that. Like he liked a lot of what was coming out right then, and Bare Naked Ladies and stuff, and like super poppy. But it wasn't so far removed from the pop stuff that he was enjoying in the 80s.
Yeah.
And there was a progression, and it's really easy to call things evolution that aren't evolution.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes there's a hard line to walk between. It's hard to tell where the line is between degeneration and evolution.
Right.
And I don't know. I'm just saying that, like, I think that the stuff that's really the pop stuff that you're hearing right now that's popular does seem to be a huge fall in quality, and especially lyrically, just what we're even talking about.
Well, that's what I mean.
From when I was a kid.
That's what I mean, right? Like, if you listen to Bob Dylan songs, they're a lot about, like, being socially conscious, like what's going on in society and the world.
They're just about anything.
It's about, like, thinking about the way people live their lives, and he tells stories about people, and they're interesting, and that's why I like his music so much. And, like, I don't like a lot of the stuff people listen to now because I think it's boring because it's not about anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily care about, like, maybe people think Zeppelin is boring because some of the songs are slow or something. Like, it's not just like bass beating all the time. I like to actively listen to music. It's not something that I like put on in the background necessarily.
And I do both.
Yeah,
and I think we've
certainly
completely gotten rid of any need for a talented singer.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you can carry a tune, you can be
technology
a multi-million-dollar.
Sure.
And technology has hurt. Well, you don't even have to carry a tune. Technology has hurt us with the auto-tune and things.
Mm-hmm.
Most certainly. Inevitably, that was going to have to come up.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, when you say somebody like who was your example?
Dylan is the one I was talking about.
Well, before that you were Zeppelin.
Zeppelin was one we mentioned.
When you said Zeppelin wouldn't be popular now,
I said Dylan wouldn't be popular.
Was it Dylan?
Yeah, it was Dylan.
I don't know.
I brought up Zeppelin. He was talking about Dylan.
When you said Dylan would be popular now, that's true as far as like what's on the radio and like what's being played at establishments you go to. Excuse me, or whatever. But you have the same thing with music that you have with everything right now, where there is a really blurred line between what's professional and what's underground. And I wish, recording labels would be smarter in seeing what people are really liking, that they could get them to go more mainstream. And we're seeing some of that happening. But when you have people with like 10, 15 million subscribers on YouTube that can't get on a record label, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is
and you have a lot of the most like actual musical stuff, and I don't just mean cover artists. I mean people doing original stuff. Like Walk the Earth is a great band. And they're on YouTube and they do covers, but they do their own original stuff. Their original stuff is every bit as good, if not better, than their covers. And they should be mainstream. They should be played everywhere. They're really good.
And in a sense, they are mainstream if that many people listen to them.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're just not being recognized by the. Maybe it's just a transition of.
And they also draw a crowd at their concerts.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. Now they might be on a label, I don't know, but I haven't heard them on the radio.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I don't get that.
Yeah.
I feel like we're playing it safe so hard because it wasn't that long ago that the whole industry crashed.
Mm.
Well, and I also don't like once something hits big, it's what music sounds like. So a couple of years ago, when Mumford & Sons started, I liked Mumford & Sons. I thought I really liked their sound. It kind of I have a tendency to like a guy with a guitar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I like old blues music, because there's one guy with a guitar shrieking about his problems. You know?
Yeah,
It's great.
that's a lot of what the Mountain Goats is, and Jackson Jihad's kind of like that. I like
why,
a lot of.
That's why Cash got big again just before he died.
I love Johnny Cash.
And that's the golden age for Johnny Cash for me. Like I love his.
I've been listening to an insane
American
amount
records.
of
American records. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what brought him back.
Yeah.
Are you aware of that?
Yeah,
a lot of those
amazing.
are all covers of like classic American folk songs and stuff. They're great stuff.
great.
Yeah, and also and also a lot of like 70s, 80s pop songs.
Yeah.
And what he was really like out of the popular limelight.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a guy the guy running this label went to one of his shows and came backstage.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
It was he worked with a lot of the hip hop artists back in the day too.
Right.
I forget his name.
And originally Johnny Cash didn't want to meet him, but
Rick Rubin, that's his name.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, Rick Rubin.
Yeah, and ultimately he agreed to it, and they immediately hit it off.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of recording just in his living room to get a sense of what the records would sound like.
Yeah.
And just he said just like Johnny Cash, play me the songs just whatever you really want to play, whatever you haven't done that you really want to play the songs, and they recorded them just so that he would have something to look at. And they said that when they got in the studio, a lot of the stuff in the living room was better than the studio tracks.
Really?
And it's just Cash on his guitar.
I mean that's kind of what I.
And I think they may have used some of those tracks, although I'm not sure. But I think they might have used some of just what they shot, what they recorded in that living room.
And that's why
I don't know that though.
That's what I like a lot. A lot of my favorite music. I'm old school in the sense that like I like a lot of old American blues music. Like I even like listening to some of the earliest recordings of like stuff from like the 20s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That stuff's great.
If you have a chance, and I don't know if he's touring right now, you might not think that you would want to do this, but you absolutely should.
Yeah.
Go to a Huey Lewis concert.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because Huey Lewis is a blues guy, and he's a blues guy first. And so many of these pop artists, especially in at that time, wanted to kind of figured out what the sound was that would get hit big. And they went with that, and it's real poppy and mainstream, and their influence is whatever their favorite music is, but they're not really playing that.
Interesting.
And Huey Lewis, and you see a lot of the Seal is this way with soul music. You see a lot of these older musicians coming back and playing the music they really wanted to play. And Huey Lewis is an amazing blues artist.
Awesome.
And he's bringing back a lot of stuff from the 30s, 40s, and 50s that nobody knows, and trying to make people recognize them again.
I wish blues...
And you need to go to one of those shows,
Yeah.
because it's the only concert I've ever been to where the guy played more of whatever his current stuff was, or that he would rather play than his hits, and I enjoyed that as much or more.
Oh, wow, that's
and
awesome.
it was wonderful.
That's awesome.
And he plays his hits too.
Yeah.
But he also does that stuff.
I wish blues would make a resurgence, because it's one of my favorite genres.
I also really like George Thorogood, who has some blues.
Yeah.
George
Yeah.
Thorogood, I've seen in concert.
A
I
lot
would
of
love to see George Thorogood. The One Bourbon, One Scotch, One Beer, the first half of it is one of my favorite
The stuff that
songs
he
of all
makes up is great. The stuff that's the cover is not. I turn the song off after that.
Yeah. When we actually get to the One Bourbon, One Scotch, One Beer portion of the song,
Yeah.
it's real repetitive.
Yeah, I don't like
that
that
first
either.
half is great.
Vince loves that. I don't
One of my
understand.
favorite songs of all time.
I miss the
First
blues
half.
influence on popular music so much. Like that's why I like the Stones more than the Beatles, because the Stones are so based on American blues music, and the Beatles are
Right.
They're good, but they're not. They don't have any soul to them like the Stones do. You know what I mean? I guess that's controversial because everyone loves the Beatles, but I don't know. I've always liked the Stones.
I mean, that
before.
used to be a
But
thing.
it was because I think the reason people love the Beatles so much was, a lot of it was because they seemed to be inventing something that sounded like it was almost from scratch. Like you'd never heard anything like this
Sure.
before. And you can find their influences, but not as
Yeah.
easily as something like the Stones, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, and then they influenced everything. Like
Everything
Helter
else,
Skelter
right.
is a Zeppelin song before Zeppelin exists.
yeah, definitely.
And none of the other songs are like Helter Skelter. Like Helter
Well,
Skelter.
and they were being experimental.
if you
while so
track
much of their stuff really
it
sounded the
backwards,
same.
Helter Skelter is kind of the genesis of metal.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just wish that American music, I guess, would embrace more of its cultural heritage in that way
Yeah.
too. Because I feel like we've gotten away from so much of the actual instrumentation of what music used to be. Like we're making everything on computers now. I don't know.
Well, what's really interesting is I don't know a lot of people that actually listen to what is popular right now.
I do.
Yeah.
I do too.
Okay.
My sister is like that. Yeah, like people that are a little bit younger than me and Eric, I suppose it's really popular with.
It's just most of the people I know, and even people younger than me, seem to like everything they like is stuff that no one else has heard of, because there's so much going on, and it's just like movies and TV, except most of this stuff is not as mainstream as that, where there's so much vying for your attention, and it's because anybody can do it now and make it sound good.
Well, it's interesting where like.
I don't mean everyone's talented. I mean everyone has the material.
Right.
Certain bands that you would think, or I would think, or like I really like the Mountain Goats. The Mountain Goats have never been on the radio.
Sure.
I run into people all the time that know who the Mountain Goats are. Not just here, like in Florida, I would bump into people who knew who the Mountain Goats were, and I don't know how, because that predates YouTube. Like he's not like a YouTube famous guy, so I don't know how these people found him, but
yeah.
I found him through Fraction. Fraction talked about them, but
oh, cool.
You're right. There's a real weird blend of I don't know what's indie and what's mainstream anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose that's good because you would think that the cream would rise to the top if all things are created equal, right? Like if there are people that are really talented making music, more people would listen to those than that stuff.
That's happening.
Well, I mean. With the internet, I should hope that more people are discovering that music than before. It is on the internet
to some degree. It's not so much, of course, in the mainstream, but just like Hollywood, that is holding on for dear life, and it's just not going to be the same as it is forever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you find that when that sort of thing happens, like you were saying, how everything becomes the same. I
brought up. Mumford & Sons. When Mumford & Sons came out, I liked them, and then the entire radio sounded like Mumford & Sons for like a year.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm right about this, but I think that is a sign of an industry in its death throes. Like, I feel that way sometimes.
To some degree, that's also always been true, but then you have other people that like break in, and just people aren't breaking in now. The industry is scared of collapse. I also think you have far fewer, maybe I don't know, because I don't listen to a lot of that stuff, but I think you also have far fewer just bands overall than you used to in that world.
I don't hear a lot of bands anymore. It's a lot of pop artists.
Yeah, but doesn't it seem like there's whatever's on the radio, there's like fewer and fewer artists?
Yeah, and I don't know.
I don't know if I'm right about that, but
it's really the band thing is really weird to me because the example I always use when I talk to people about the degradation of this kind of stuff is the Super Bowl halftime shows. Like, 1 year Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band did the show, and I really like them. They were like my parents' favorite band, so I have a really nostalgic connection to them, I guess. But I really like their music in general. And they did the show, and people thought it was boring because it was just people playing music. And then, I talked to people that were like, oh, like, I didn't like the show. Why? Oh, like, there was no fireworks and Lady Gaga didn't jump off of a giant spire into,
it's about the
in a pool of puppies or something. You know what I mean? So
and by performance, you just mean spectacle.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even about the music, really. And that's what I would be there for.
Yeah, I don't dislike Lady Gaga.
I
like Lady Gaga. I think she's real catchy.
Sure, yeah. I don't know, that thing just kind of bothers me.